all the bright minds over here. Welcome to this webinar, second webinar session of mentoring program, which is an initiative of GeoCivil Y2K batch. From the feedback we received through online survey as well as the personal interactions over the last month, we are glad to understand that you all have welcomed this initiative, and it is our pleasure to help and guide you all to shape your ensuing long career. As already communicated to you, today's presenter will be our dear friend Obro Roy Chaudhary. Uh, just to give a brief info about Obro, who is currently associated with Accenture as a management consulting senior manager. He has a tons of experience in different managerial positions in three of the big four companies, KPMG, Deloitte, and EY. And Obro is basically a civil engineering graduate of Jadavpur University, our alma mater, 2000 to the year 2000. And he's also a proud management graduate of Iowa State University and the world famous Booth School of Business, University of Chicago, from where our ex-governor of RBI, Dr. Raghuram Rajan, is also a distinguished professor. So, without wasting much of your time, I would request Obro to start this session. But before he starts, just want to again remind you the webinar rules. I will be happy if you can keep your audio muted and keep your questions ready in the chat box. And for further queries and your feedback, we'll be happy to attend them in our email. So over to you, Obro.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Devargo. Allow me to share my screen. That was a very generous introduction. Nothing of that sort is what I have actually achieved, but thank you. It's very nice of you. And I'm very used to seeing other people's faces when delivering this. Probably like millionth time I have presented. So I'm really sorry I'm unable to see you all, but it's absolutely a pleasure to be with you all today, and it brings me back to my past days when I was exactly in your shoes, in your position as a student, and I had so many questions. Right, we all had questions. Unfortunately, we did not have this opportunity of interacting with seniors that much. So I appreciate this eagerness that you have shown in coming across, and you will be surprised how actually we are available and how interested we are to guide you. Right, when it comes to very practical basic questions around job placements, around life balance, what is most important, what you consider a successful career, you can ask anything to us. We are always very accessible, within the constraints of our professional lives. Well, as Devargo has already said, so I don't want to dwell too much. About 16 plus years in strategy and operations consulting. I am someone who you can say is an expert in operationalizing strategy, right? So there's different types of strategy consulting work that happens. There are cybersecurity strategy work that happens. There's finance strategy. There's corporate finance strategy. There's mergers and acquisition strategy. When it comes to very high level corporate governance type strategy, that's where they call it corporate strategy. And the big three corporate strategy firms, McKinsey, Bain, and Boston, are typically known to be the blueprinters. They just set the strategy. But once they give the recommendations, once they set the path, there's a tremendous volume of work that's pending, that's needed, where companies like workhorse companies like Deloitte Consulting, PwC Consulting, us, Accenture Strategy and Consulting, we come in, right? So please, I want to be very clear what we mean by strategy consulting. Strategy consulting doesn't always mean that you go and buy this company or you go and divest this business. Yeah. So there are various domains where you need a strategy, a go-to-market strategy, a marketing strategy, a sales strategy, right? And different types of people can cater to those client needs. I am someone who specializes in transformation strategy. I currently am a senior manager with the management consulting practice at Accenture. I have a team of about 35 individuals reporting directly to me in the transformation office and value realization office practice. What does that mean? It means that irrespective of the stimulus, whether it's a large scale, let's say a capital investment, a large scale investment in a civil engineering project even that Devargo might lead, right? any organization embarking in such capital investment projects or large scale transformations internally or influenced by an external stimulus such as regulations or such as a transaction like a merger with another company, right? In these cases, I come in and I conceive of what the future would look like, right? A classic example these days you will hear lots of companies are transitioning to an as a service mode, right? Because products, once you sell a product, right, you get a one-time cash flow, but companies are trying to ensure that they get the cash, they have some predictability on the cash flow over a longer period. That's why they're transitioning to a subscription model, just like we subscribe to magazine. All those as a service transformations, merger driven transformations is my domain. So whenever there's a need for an expert who can blueprint the future state, what would an organization look like post transformation, that's where I come in with my team. And the value realization part of it is very simple. It's what's in it for me. The fundamental question every individual asks, what is in it for me? Aaj jo tum log yahan pe, you are attending here, right? You absolutely have that in your mind. What's in it for me, right? And it's very natural. So clients also have it. The first thing that they think is what's in it for me. So value realization is my practice where we quantify the value of this transformation, right? So for instance, if there is a complete overhaul of the customer relationship practice that we do, then we consider customer satisfaction as a value driver, and we look at measures such as net promoter score or customer satisfaction score and show that it is value accretive, right? So anyway, I mean, I don't want to get into the details right away, but taking a step back, yes, I am a civil engineering graduate from this program. I want to be very clear that the work that I do, unfortunately, has very, very little, if not anything, if not nothing, with civil engineering. And the reasons are very personal, right? And I'm pretty sure there are people in this group, as we speak to you, who love what they're doing, who like civil engineering. And I absolutely think it's a brilliant subject. The statics part of it and then the structural dynamics part of it, which were like extremely interesting subjects and close to my heart. I didn't like all the subjects, but structures was really one of the areas that I really loved it, and programming was another one. But for many of you, that may not be an area that you really identify with, and it's quite normal, right? For many of you, this is life, right? Many of you, during these 4 years, you may go through a bad patch. I went through a bad patch, right? So life is big. You have the personal and you have the professional, you have the academic, right? Right now, thankfully, you don't have to be exposed to the professional side of it, but academically and personally, you are challenged all the time. Look at how much quanta of work you have to put in to get where you are. You're already very smart, right? You've achieved already a lot. But this may or may not be your calling, and that's okay, right? And when I was in the program, in Bachelor of Civil Engineering program, I didn't find myself very excited about a civil engineering career, right? Despite the fact that I recognize that building a bridge over a sea link or building an underground metro, it's really the core of building civilization. And when I went to some of the villages where my ancestors were from, I saw that no, people don't need computers there. They need basic infrastructure. So the importance and imperative of civil engineering is paramount, right? Your furniture, your basic sanitation, public water supply, wastewater management. Look at the situation in Calcutta. It is so dirty these days because we suck at wastewater management or solid waste management, right? These are big burning issues, right? And that's why if you feel that civil engineering is your calling, absolutely great, right? So there's a gentleman named Jim Collins, and I want to keep it very informal and conversational with you. There's a gentleman named Jim Collins. I would encourage you to look him up. He's a Stanford PhD, a management consultant. He wrote 2 very seminal books. One was called Good to Great. The other was called To Last. In Good to Great, Jim makes a good point. He draws 3 Venn diagrams, which you can very intuitively conceive of. 3 Venn diagrams. One represents the set of activities I love to do. The second one, a set of activities I'm very good at. And the third one, the set of activities that will drive my cash flow. All three are important. You should think of driving towards the center. Let's say I love, flying kites, for instance. I do really still, but that's not going to drive my cash flow engine. I'm very good at it too. So it satisfied two of the conditions, but not the third one. And maybe you love doing something, right? You love surveying, but the kind of personal commitments that you have towards your family, the cash flow needs that you may have, the cash needs, the money needs, the wealth needs that you may have, that may not be a very good driver of it in your assessment of the market, in your assessment of yourself in that career. Then that's not the right way to go. So always try to drive towards the center. Try to find a career which you love doing, which you are very good at doing, and that drives your cash flow engine. That will be very important for your long-term success. While money is not everything, it's definitely not, and you will soon realize it. And initially in your careers, people are very, very poised about like poor thing, career hi karenge. That doesn't work. Soon you will get a family, you have kids, and you find the value in interacting with your family, with your child. We are human beings, right? And I'm telling this to you because when I was your age, those were nowhere in my horizon in terms of considerations. But some of you very intelligently have put some questions around life balance. So we'll get there, right? That said, I wanted to let you know that just like me, if some of you are interested in exploring an alternative career path, there is absolutely, you have every right to do so. There will always be detractors. Some of my favorite professors, one who's a brilliant mind from the mechanical engineering department, he like basically cried out and threw all the magazines in his hand when I said that I'm going for an MS Information Systems program. He was like, "Doosh!" Because he was so frustrated that I'm not going to engineering. And he used to dissuade me by saying that this IT industry will not last for 5 years, right? You do realize that, right? So he used to, I'm not at all criticizing him. He was one of the team members in the Neptune lab that designed the valve of Agni, right? So he has earned the right to be a big champion of core engineering. The amount of satisfaction you get by applying science in engineering is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So if that's your calling, go for it. But I am just here, unlike Debargo, unlike Arindam, who are experts in their technology field. I was fascinated by the simulations that, even though I didn't understand a lot of it, but to some extent I did. And Arindam's presentation, like he hit it out of the park for people who really love it. So there are opportunities in aerospace. There are opportunities like Debargo does in roads, in railway engineering. One of my friends went to the US. He pursued railway engineering specialization from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, the mecca of engineering, right? So there's plenty of paths. Where I want to spend some quality time with you today is to give you some assurance that there are alternative pathways as well if you do not like this, right? And that's totally normal. You never know where you will end up. You never know, right? How your career will take turns, you don't know. When I was doing my internship in civil engineering in Kolkata, in a very well-known boutique consulting firm called Acme Consultants, I'm sure it still exists, and many of our professors were affiliated with it. There were senior engineers who were very interested. And by the way, I had by that time, before my third year internship, I had already secured a job with TCS, right? So many of the senior engineers were asking me, like, how do you make a switch to software? So that's when I asked this question, like, why do you not like what you are doing? You are doing design in civil engineering. So I got some perspective of that. And then I see folks like Debargo, many of my childhood friends, who are terrific engineers, and you get a very positive perspective from them as well, right? So again, I think those three Venn diagrams should be your guide. Something that you are really passionate about, something that you are very good at, and something that drives your cash flow engine. If you can shoot for the middle, the intersection of these three sets, then you have hit the jackpot, right? But you have to really love it. I can tell you, day in and day out, you will not be able to do something that you don't love. I absolutely love what I do, right? I get the chance to drive large sales. I basically, apart from my team, I also drive the entire North America sales for my practice. I'm in the high-tech practice. So companies like Apple, Samsung, the consumer tech companies like these, and enterprise tech companies such as HP Enterprise, Lenovo, Palo Alto in security, these are my clients, right? Fuji Electric is my client. I love interacting with them. I love interacting with clients. I love interacting with my onshore counterparts because I'm part of Accenture Global Network. And I don't know where 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours I put in every day, and I don't know where it goes by. And I love mentoring and coaching people. I mean, this is the third time this quarter also I got the Career Enabler Award from my kids, as I call them, right? So you kids are very bright. The world is your oyster. So if you have any questions, reach out to us, right? So let me just walk you through what I did, right? And then I'll go through some business use cases that might or might not excite you. So after I graduated with a very, very poor grade card, so life doesn't end there. That's also another thing. Many of you may feel that you are not doing too well, right? What will happen? Really, trust me. When you are working in the professional world, nobody gives a damn about your grades. Can you get it done? Do you have it in you? Do you have the get it done mentality? If I am being very candid with you, we always say like, can you get shit done, right? So kick some ass and get shit done, right? That no boss likes someone who's asking who's asking 17 questions to the boss and coming back. You are supposed to keep the noise down, get your work done. And if you can do that, nobody cares how much you scored in your Madhyamik or your Ucha Madhyamik. Nobody does, right? So even if you, like me, get out of Jadavpur with a very poor grade card, which I did, right? Don't give up. At some point, and that could be because you didn't study during the 4 years. I didn't, right? And then that's why my grades suffered, right? I didn't like it. There were other factors in my life that were going on. I just didn't click. Happens. Life happens, right? So I'm just saying that it's not the end of the world. It's never the end of the world. You always have the chance to turn around. You always have the chance to do something really good, really cash flow rich, if you are willing to put that effort. And at some point, you have to put that effort. Yes, I didn't study the first 4 years in Jadavpur, but boy, did I put some slogging when I went to Iowa State, right? 100 pages every evening of studies was nothing for me. Nothing. I was studying that hard. I was working in KPMG, traveling the entire continental United States, and yet working my ass off on portfolio management when I was in Chicago, which was perhaps the most tough cookie I've ever bit on, right? So what I'm trying to say is that learn from examples like us that through failures, you somehow finally get into the groove, right? So in my case, after I graduated from Jadavpur with a Bachelor of Civil Engineering, I joined TCS because I had scored that job after my second year only, right? But soon, and this will help you understand how I made the decisions, which hopefully can help you. Soon, while working in TCS, which was a very, very good environment, by the way, right? It's a very professional environment. Tata really takes care of you. If you're there long term, you will make a lot of money. You will see a lot of the world. You will have a very secure life. But for me, I always wanted to be part of something bigger, something that drives decisions. I always wanted to be part of a concern, a practice that advises TCS, right? So, and plus I am from civil engineering. So I did not have the requisite knowledge about databases and architecture, computer architecture, overall technology architecture, data architecture, nothing, right? So I decided after 3 years, enough is enough. I need to get some formal education. So thankfully, those days, a 710 or something in GMAT used to be a good score. I got significant amount of scholarship. Yes, business schools do offer scholarships. You can get in touch with me. Even the top schools like Michigan and Booth, they offer scholarships, right? It all depends on your performance. And I can tell you, like, lesser known schools, Baylor University in Texas offered me a free ride. They offered me 100% scholarship for an MS MBA program, right? And those days, why did I make that call? Why an MS MBA? I met a couple, a student couple from Cornell University on a flight back from Amsterdam. I was there in Belgium, worked there for 6 months, and with TCS only. While on my way back, I met a couple of Asian Chinese students who were both MBAs, and they were the ones who gave me the idea. I had no idea there was an MIS program, right? So things happen in life, right? I always wanted to study. I always felt that with my grades, I will never make it, right? But I got an admission at Carnegie Mellon University also. I didn't get the funding, unfortunately, and I only needed 28 lakhs. You'd laugh, right? Aaj ki tarikh mein 28 lakhs is something that you can get a loan even. Had I had 28 lakhs then, my dad didn't have it, I would have ended up in the MS program at CMU, which would have probably set a different boundary condition to my life. But anyway, I had a great time at Iowa State. I decided to learn about technology. I learned everything. The most prestigious MIS journal, MIS Quarterly, the chief editor used to teach at Iowa State, Dr. Prem Kumar. He's died, unfortunately, of muscular sclerosis, but he was a phenomenal teacher. I learned about strategy. I learned about marketing. Because those days, the buzzword was, what is better than an MBA and a technology MBA, a tech MBA, right? So I got a job from my campus at Ernst & Young, right? Right out of campus in the IT risk management sphere, right? Where I would go to a client, large clients like United Health Group, world's largest private insurer, right? But what was really exciting me was their growth mode. UHG, United Health Group, was growing inorganically through acquisitions. Those started getting me very intrigued. Why? Right? Why are they growing by acquisition? What's the net benefit, right? I was very lucky because of my very good performance. I was put in so-called special projects, and one of such projects was corporate stock repurchase review. This may not make a lot of sense to you, but if you start researching or putting a Google search, then that might make it, right? So at times, the corporations buy back stock from the market, right? I was given a task to review it from a risk angle. So these morphed my interest into more knowing about finance. And the only school I applied for my second MBA is the world's best school in finance, which is University of Chicago. Because the father of modern finance, Dr. Eugene Fama, got the Nobel Prize the day I joined, in 2013 from University of Chicago. It's a phenomenal. I mean, in my lifetime, I've been to two really elite institutes. One is South Point High School and the other one is Chicago. But I ended up at Chicago and I was still working with KPMG, crisscrossing the entire continental United States. And then I ended up with Deloitte Consulting as a manager. So my point being that you will carve your path. You will make a lot of money, right? And I will give you a little bit of a glimpse of what a consultant's life will look like. It's very bad if you're a family person because you're traveling all the time, right? You are traveling to the client side. The typical consultant's life starts at 4 a.m. Mondays. Every Monday morning, all consultants leave town, take their first flight out, goes to the client side, works them, and then goes to sleep. Yes, in a 5-star hotel, everything is paid for. Of course, even there, your laundry is paid for, all your food is paid for. They'll pay for everything. Your trips, your air trips, your car trips, your per diem allowance, you make a ton of money, but you don't have work-life balance. It's as simple as that. But at some stages in your career, that makes sense, dude, right? I mean, when you are 25 through 30, when you're not bogged down into a family life, I wouldn't say bogged down in a negative way, when you're not locked down, that works. A lot of people follow that model. A lot of people go to a private equity shop or go to a consulting shop. They work their asses off until 30, 31, make a ton of money, and then they settle for a more predictable work-life balance. You're most welcome to try that. But at some point in time, you have to work your ass off. You have to put in the effort, right? Hopefully that gives you some idea of my trajectory. It hasn't been a smooth trajectory at all, but I have got a national award in the United States from Deloitte Consulting. Every quarter I get awards at Accenture. So I'm very happy with where I am. Yeah. And I have a team, pretty large team. So long story short, you can still, with a bad report, grade card, you can still end up in the best business school in the world. You can still work with professors who are Nobel laureates like Robert Vishny, or going to be Nobel laureates like Robert Vishny in behavioral economics, Louis Pasteur, and you can learn. I used to sit and I used to marvel. Like, actually, it was a surprise for me. There were times when I used to sit at the canteen and look all around. There were 32 pictures of Nobel laureates all around me. And I was like, after I spent 4 years doing nothing, because I put in some work at some point in time. And I'm not telling my story. I'm saying this can be your story, each and your every story. You can, if you are very good at your studies, you can be a stellar scientist like Arindam tomorrow. You can follow his path. He's a phenomenal scientist, right? You can follow Debargo's path. Debargo is a phenomenal and extremely highly respected civil engineer and works in large capital projects. Even if I can win a percentage of that project in my world, I would be probably promoted tomorrow, right? So these gentlemen, ladies, they deal with very large projects and they have arrived there following their passion, right? Look at how passionate Arindam was with his simulations, right? He started as a civil engineer. The difference was he studied, I didn't, but he look at where he went. He's a partner in a firm. So when it comes to your questions around what kind of reward, and that's very relevant question. That's absolutely like there's some sort of a unfortunate mental block in Bengal particularly that making money is bad. It's not bad. It should be one of the main goals of your life. Creating wealth. Every other community in India talks about creating wealth, leaving a foundation for the next generation. We don't. As if it's taboo. It's not taboo. You should all focus on making money. Not in the ways that's prevalent with politicians today, but in an honest way. Be it civil engineering, be it aerospace, be it material science. Some of you can get intrigued by concrete and different types of concrete, right? Imagine the base of an Agni 5 when it blasts off with so much energy and so much heat that will melt every known material in the world. It's concrete. So somebody is designing it. So that could be your calling. And you can even veer off to material science, right? Find a way. It took me until I was 35 to find a way. So no rush. You be honest with your life. You put in the effort, you will be rewarded. That would be as your senior brother, very, very senior brother, or your uncle even, my guidance to you. That said, I have talked enough. I am very good at chatting, so don't, Debargo, please keep me honest here. But my message to you is, you can turn around anytime. You can beat any level of adversities, bad academics, depression, life throwing cardball at you, and you can still win. You can still make a lot of money, have a very good family, have a very solid life, right? Very, very solid life profile. And Jadavpur, you will be surprised how much further you are already. I go to all the IIMs. We hire MBA graduates from the top IIMs, right? Many of them don't have their fundamentals clear. Of course, we hire the best of the best, but any one of you can join us, right? If you follow the right path, and I'll quickly briefly touch on what kind of profiles we look for. But there's nothing stopping you, right? Joining the top 3 consulting firms or the middle tier firms like Accenture, Deloitte, and all that. You can always join if you want to follow this trajectory. Yeah. Okay. So I'll take a few minutes just to show you typically what's in the life of Avro. So this is one. For instance, bear with me. Yeah. So shared services, right? What is shared services? This is a particular business use case which may or may not interest you. But when in an organization, the same task is happening in multiple places, then we propose that why are you wasting time by doing redundant work in multiple areas? Tease them out, put them in a common place called shared services. That's a big transformation, because tell me something, what is the first, or imagine the person that has been doing some work day in and day out, he's being told, no, this work is going to shared services, potentially going to Accenture or TCS. What's the first reaction? Huge insecurity, right? So you have to manage that insecurity, you have to manage that change, right? So those are big issues in a transformation, but these are large organizational transformations. So I did this particular project for a company which is US's or the world's largest mortgage provider, secondary mortgage. So they buy portfolios of loans from banks, they break them down into securities and sell them in the market. One of the key players in the financial meltdown in 2008, 2009, when you were probably kids, right? So this company had this transformation use case where they had 3 lines of business. One line one line dealing with single family business, the other one multifamily business, and the other one capital markets. And we noticed that each one was supported by an operations organization and an IT organization, but doing essentially the same thing. They were taking care of the business of IT and operations. They were doing the same tasks such as forecasting, variance analysis, reporting. So we proposed, why have redundancies? Why have the risk of being inconsistent, non-uniform, right? So what we did was, from these very siloed, isolated organizations, we said, keep the business the same, but make it into one shared service organization. So we just said, instead of having all this being done at 6 different places, do it in one place. This is what is called a transformation. And I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you may have. This is a classic transformation that involves huge organizational change. For this, I had to work with the CIO of the company. The asset base at the company had at the time of this, the asset base, the total amount of money this company was sitting on was $3 trillion. I am not kidding you. $3 trillion was the asset base. It's the largest secondary mortgage player in the world. And for them to go through this level of organizational change needs you to be a very politically savvy person, understand the client politics, understand the dynamics, work with C-level, C-1 level clients, and get the work done. At the end of that, I was a KPMG consultant then, KPMG management consultant. I remember sitting in the corporate executive room where people who were twice my age were listening to my advice on how to define the manager of the future, how to define the director of the future. That kind of exposure, working with Susan McFarlane, who's the CFO of this $3 trillion company when you are 30, that's a huge kick. When a CFO says that his work is fantastic, that's a huge kick. If that's something that excites you, advising top-level clients in the US, in India, working with Sunil Bharti Mittal, or working with, in the US with C-level clients, then you can absolutely explore management consulting as a route. And you will make decent amount of money. Right? So moving on, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have. By the way, I'll give you one example. Do you know what kind of pushbacks we get? What kind of politics? Just because we named this organization, changed the business, and this has run the business, people were not wanting to work in this. People were afraid that they'll lose their jobs if they didn't run the business. So we had to coach them, train them, and say that no, running the business is also important. It's just that any discretionary project where the company will push the envelope and move on, that's here. Of course, that's the sexy part of the business, right? Everyone wants to go to change the business, but that doesn't mean everyone can, right? You still have to run the business, right? So these kind of issues, it's very people-centric business. It's consulting is a people business. Unless you know people, unless you are able to understand what they want, what they are thinking, you will never grow. Which I will, another thread that I will bring towards the end when I wrap this up. This is one use case. This one was for, and I'll name it because this was not an Accenture client. This was for the world's best healthcare provider hospital called Mayo Clinic, based out of Rochester, Minnesota. Mayo Clinic is the world's best healthcare provider, and they were very afraid of cybersecurity attacks. So they wanted to change 11,000 devices. They wanted to swap out 11,000 devices and make it a smart network. What is a smart network? They wanted to use a new technology. And this, for you people who are really interested in technology, this would be very interesting. So Mayo Clinic wanted to make sure that the network first learns from the data traffic, the pattern of traffic, and it becomes so smart that if you plug in a proton beam therapy machine for cancer treatment on the 4th floor of a building, the network knows that it's a proton beam therapy machine, and it will put that logically into that particular compartment of the network. So that's injecting smartness in a network. These were the early days of AI, very early days, right? 2012. I can proudly say that I was in this engagement, which was like perhaps the first AI application in, definitely the first AI application in Mayo Clinic. Cisco was the implementation partner. They made $128 million out of swapping 11,000 devices. So we typically create a program governance, which is who will run the program, what the goals are. Then you create a program charter, right? And then you look at the different projects. So one project was, as I said, right, 11,000 equipment were refreshed. And then the second project was the traffic analysis. There was a machine, like in Rabindranath's song, Ami Kaan Pe Te Roi, right? I keep on listening. The machine will continuously keep on listening to the pattern of traffic, and it will form logical compartments in the network to make them secure. So that's why this network segmentation was the third project. And then the final project was making their internet secure through this. These may not be of any interest to you, and I don't want you to take away anything from these. What I want you to take away is a typical management consulting scenario would be where you run multiple projects. In a small firm, you are running one project. Here, I was responsible for all these 4 projects. As and when these projects were injecting new technology in the ecosystem, my goal was to make sure the organization is operationally ready. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you have gained a lot of weight. Your dad does 3 things. Buys you a pair of really cool sneakers, running shoes that can help you run. Number 2, he enrolls you in a gym. Number 3, he gets a very cranky alarm clock so that it wakes you up at 5 a.m. every morning so that you can go to the gym running. But you have to be ready, right? You have to be ready. You have to be ready by not partying every night too late so that the alarm will go on, you will still not wake up, right? So that readiness, as and when these projects will inject new technology, that readiness is where I come in. No technology is of any use unless you can convert that into a service, right? So my role is ensuring when somebody buys a technology, when a client buys a technology, my role is to make sure they can translate that into a capability. That's my winning theme. I say that to all clients, and I win most deals because of this. That Accenture brings this perspective where we don't care what you buy. We can help you with selection of technology, but once you buy the technology, we will make sure we leave behind a legacy of a capability. And that is only possible when somebody can carefully make them operationally ready. In this case, of course, it was a network organization. So I worked with each of these 3 organizations: architecture and design, people who design; the development team, people who develop or configure the network; and network operations, who monitor the network. I worked with each team, looked at their processes, made sure the processes are ready to catch. It's like almost project 2, 3, 4 are the relay racers that are coming to you, and you are waiting with your arm outstretched. They will pass on the baton and you will run with it. So that was my work, to make sure they can run with it. Make sense? Hopefully. But I really enjoyed this project because of the heavy dose of technology. I learned something new, that networks even can keep listening, and using AI, they can create, it's training the model, right? They're training the model with the data. The more the data, the better. So day 2 is always better for the model than day 1 because more and more traffic is going through it. Yeah. And to run this kind of a kitchen, you need to do a lot of project planning. So all of these, I was responsible for managing all of these teams, The teams were reporting to me, making sure. I almost felt like a lawyer those days because I was fighting all the time with Cisco because they're not doing their job meticulously, and I was given that role. The client said that you be our representative, our advocate. Make sure this implementation partner is doing their job. You have to do key stakeholder management. Is integration. I promise it's the last use case. I typically do lot of post-merger, post-integration strategy and planning. So in my experience, we need to know exactly what the business objectives are, right? Why does company go on integration, or why does a company acquire a new company? Either they're trying to increase their market share, or they are currently working in India, they want to work in Bangladesh. They will acquire a company in Bangladesh. They want to upsell, they want to increase their average revenue per customer. So we need to be very clear as strategy consultants that what are the business objectives of the client for this integration, right? Then we do something called a strategic articulation where we map these business objectives to IT objectives. So let's say somebody says that we will upsell and cross-sell. That's a business objective, which means upsell means same customer that was paying 10 rupees will now get out 30 rupees from that person, right? Look at what Airtel is doing. They're upselling already, right? We used to pay 800 rupees, now they're charging 900. That's upselling. Average revenue per user, ARPU, they're pushing up. Go to a bank, you will know what a cross-sell is. They will piss you off. If you have a savings bank account, they will go after you like anything. Sir, can you please buy a mutual fund? Sir, are you interested in insurance? That's cross-selling. So these business objectives fundamentally drive an integration agenda, right? And then we map IT objectives to those business objectives. The rest of it is pretty similar. We make sure there's a governance, there's value governance, and there's plenty of projects that will be part of the scope. In a large integration, there could be as large as 60, 70 projects, individual projects. As a strategy consultant, it's not your job to manage one project. Your job is to manage the program. I take the decision whether the IT work will be outsourced to a TCS or Wipro. That's the level of strategic input clients are looking for from you. And of course, you cannot speak out of your ass. You have to give them quantifiable evidence, and that's the value governance part. So we do a business case, right? We see, okay, if TCS is running it down the line over 5 years, this will be their total cost of operations. This will be the value of the contract. Compared to that, this would be Wipro's and all that. Then we present those facts and let the management make the call. But this is a typical IT integration project where we have several projects running. Each project, again, remember, each project has outcomes. They are pumping in or injecting their outcomes into the ecosystem. Our work would be to ensure that the design and operations are ready so that the client can run with that new capability. So that you can run to the gym with your new pair of shoes and a new sense of enthusiasm. Hopefully this gave you some idea of the type of work I do. So getting companies or my clients from point A to point B and making sure whatever they're investing in technology, in people, in process enhancement, they are even ready to actually reap the benefits of it. Yeah. I know some of you had asked questions around these: life balance, learning opportunities, market relevance. I have earned the right to speak about Big Four because I've worked in 3 of the Big Four in the US. It's grueling. The intensity of work, 10 hours, like typically you spend 10 hours in a PwC or a Ernst & Young. The intensity is it is uncomparable to anything. I worked in TCS Kolkata, right? Half an hour we used to go downstairs, get nice cup of chai and have 1 hour lunch breaks and spend from 9 a.m. in the morning to 9:30 p.m. at night. That's not how the management consulting work works. It's intense. Even if it is 9 hours, 10 hours, it is very, very intense. You probably I have today, I can tell you my life, in an 8-hour span, I probably would have anywhere between 12 to 16 meetings. You have to give decisions to people, right? You have to review material before it goes to the client. You have to advise clients on the best practices. People are trying to transform their organization. They're paying you a lot of money. So you need to bring the best knowledge in the industry and tell them. I'll tell you this. How do you know your career is progressing? Initially, when you join the industry, you will see, you will be told what to do. And if you are a great performer, you work with a top-notch firm like TCS or Infosys, you will be fantastic at execution. Because then the client will tell you, I know this, I know what to do this. The more you move to consulting and you move up your career, you will come to a place where the client will say, I don't know what to do to accomplish XYZ. Tell me what to do. And then finally, at the epitome, where you are 16, 17 years in the industry where I am, they tell you the statement, I don't know what I don't know. What should I know? Right? With generative AI, with AI, that's the questions they're asking. What can I do with, what is this Gen AI thing? How can I use generative AI in a high-tech value chain? Samsung is asking the question, Apple is asking the question, Intel is asking the question, right? So you have to be always on the top of your game. So learning opportunities, if you really love learning, boy, you will have a life that you will enjoy in consulting. Even after a 12-hour day, I still study. I keep digging into microservices. What are the new architectures? What's the new financial capital working capital management approach they're taking? And thankfully, I am in a position where I know both technology and finance. That puts me in a very good position also. But learning opportunities are abundant. You can learn all your life. And I can proudly say Accenture, for instance, put so much money and invest so much in learning, you will be inundated. If you want to learn, whatever a number of hours you want to give to the firms will take it. And this is true for all the big four. So you have to also draw the line in the sand, be very careful about your life balance. Because jitna doge utna le lega. Whatever you give, they'll take. So you have to say no. You have to make it a point that no, weekends I'm not going to touch work. I need to spend some time with my daughter, with my son, with my girlfriend or wife or whatever. So that's the life balance statement for you. Initially, there would be a phase in your life where you have to work your ass off. If you have seen if you have watched any interview by Indra Nooyi in YouTube, she says, like, I worked my tail off. A CEO is not an 8 to 5 job, guys. It's a 24/7 job. You are accountable, particularly companies like Accenture that are publicly traded. Do you realize the pressure from Wall Street that our CEO is under? So I hope my aspiration or my wishful thinking is every one of you become a partner of a company like Arindam, or a CEO like of a company, or a director of a large practice, and be successful. Then you will have to balance your life because the pressure will be enormous, and ultimately it will be decisions that you have to take that will impact cash flows, that will impact people's lives. I have to fire people all the time. I have fired so many people who are non-performers. Sometimes I had to fire people who are performers, but there was just a general mandate. What do you do? How do you approach those conversations? That's growing up, right? That's something I cannot make you learn all that today. But I'm saying that you have a whole life ahead of you of learning. How to make yourself market relevant? Read up. I'm ashamed to say, I remember in third year, I was very close to interviewing with TCS. I remember having a conversation with a senior Niluda on the ground at Jadavpur. I was like, Niluda, ye Infotech kya hai? Infotech? Niluda is like, I also don't know. We didn't even know Infotech is short form of information technology. Third year, guys. So I'm telling this so that you guys have the internet now. We had internet. I started with 32 megabytes of RAM. Yes, I'm a very old person. I'm 46. So you cannot even imagine. People are doing 32 gigs of RAM today, right? So in those days, I didn't have the internet on my side, but you do. Use ChatGPT. Like, don't ever come to me or any of the mentors that you have with the question, what is XYZ? It's a crime. If smart people like you, aaj ki tarikh mein, you ask what is something. That you can always go to a Google or a ChatGPT and find out what is something. Right? Okay, going to the next point. salary expectations. So market relevance is all about you learning. If you want to join a management consulting firm, learn about management consulting, right? Try to solve business cases. Contact me. I'm always happy to help. Salary expectations. I cannot go to specifics, but I can tell you we hire undergraduates in economics from St. Stephen's College, from Lady Shri Ram College, Hindu College. Undergraduates are paid definitely 10 lakhs plus per annum. And then we also hire from the top tier MBA schools, Ahmedabad, ABCL, the senior IIMs. I am Indore. I am Kohikor is a very favorite hunting spot now. Lucknow is too. So those people are in the range of, I would say, anywhere between 22 to 30 lakhs per annum. Yeah. Internship opportunities are there. Internship opportunities for summer of 2025 are getting filled now. I just finished my interviews at Symbiosis, right? So if you are interested in exploring internship opportunities with Accenture, let me know. I will try to talk with HR. I don't know which practice you would be more interested in, because I am not technology. And Accenture Kolkata, 95% is the Accenture technology practice. I am strategy and consulting practice. But I can talk. I run the recruitment for my team. I'm very involved. I go to campuses all the time. So I can try if you would be interested in consulting. Yeah. So that covers these three. This I kind of covered. So MBAs, the kind of profiles we're looking at, MBAs from tier 1 schools. So if consulting is your calling, the sooner you get to an IIM, the better. No, in India, having 2-3 years of experience after your undergraduate doesn't help. Ultimately, you have to start again from scratch. So if you are thinking of a management career, if you are thinking of a career in investment banking, get to the IIMs or the best business schools as soon as you graduate. If you can graduate within, after you graduate, if you work for a year, make some money, it's important, right? Money is important. You go on site, make some money with an Infosys, come back, pay for your 40 lakh MBA from ISB. Very good approach, very good strategy. But if you want to join management consulting, you need to get to a tier 1 school if you want to be in one of the top strategy and consulting firms like Accenture is. Yeah. And some understanding of basic financial statements. These we didn't know, nobody told us. We were so focused on just the technology. But ultimately, even the best of civil engineering firms like AECOM, L&T, they have to prepare financial statements. So having some basic understanding would really help, and some understanding of technology that supports business, right? Today, L&T is running huge capital investment projects. What kind of technology portfolio do they have? Understanding that would be helpful. I think I'm done. Devargo, Meenakshi, any questions that my friends have?
Yeah, I think we have people who have raised hands. So I think you can ask. I think Ritom, somebody had raised a hand. I had checked.
Okay, so let's stop sharing. And Ritom, if you can come on camera, I would really appreciate it. I love looking at people. Otherwise, it's fine too, but go on. Question? If you're on mute, you can come off mute. Anyone else?
Anyone else who have a question? You can start asking.
Feel free to ask. I can spend some time with you all.
Yeah, Shubhoji, please. Yes.
Hi.
How do you see India in terms of business opportunities and new product development?
Oh, absolutely. See, there's a lot of scope, right? First of all, in consulting, I can tell you, Shubhajit, that the writing is on the wall. Just like the IT industry eventually outsourced, right? All the work to India. We are seeing our global network, Accenture India practice, doing developed country work that's growing. We are the fastest growing business within Accenture. So a lot of work is coming this way. So from a business volume growth standpoint and your career growth standpoint, this is the best place to be right now. We are opening nodes in Kuala Lumpur. If you are adventurous enough and you can go there, start a practice, your career path would be accelerated, right? The next century, or at least the next half century, is Asia's, right? So all investments will be happening here, right? So yes, there's plenty of business growth. Coming to products, you look at the product companies, right? The cloud hyperscalers, Amazon, AWS, Google, and one of my colleagues, Raju is probably from Google, right? So you can talk about Google. The product companies, they pay a lot, right? Flipkart, the platform companies, they play a lot. Lot of work, yes, right? And it's very hardcore business, nothing to do with engineering. But you can choose even within a product company. Let's say Amazon, right? Amazon is these days, it's a technology company practically. One of our friends has published so many papers. He already has 3 or 4 patents in architecture, right? So you can choose your own path. But yes, a lot of products will be designed and developed here. India is a vibrant startup ecosystem, and the government is encouraging it with Make in India. So if you have ideas, particularly in the areas of analytics, anything that you can layer on, the trend these days is infrastructure as code. So less hardware, more software, right? So they are overlaying software on the top of hardware. Even Intel is doing that, right? Trying to improve processes, performances. So products, you can pretty much assume 99% of products in the forward will be going forward would be software products. So they will not be physical products. Yeah. So if you have good ideas, if you have people you can network with, and then there are VCs. There are what should I say? Angel investors and startup consortiums that can even fund you. You have to obviously make a very good pitch. You have to have a solid idea, some centricity, like some client centricity, some experience, a viable business. At the end of the day, you have to have a business case.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ritom has a question. My question is the difference between management consulting and strategy consulting. Strategy consulting is a subset of management consulting. So I'll give you one example. So let's say a company, Unilever, right? So Hindustan Unilever, they have a production facility, right? They're making products all the time, shampoos, beauty products, etc. All of that. This entire business has to be supported by some software, right? A large software that supports the entire enterprise is called an ERP, or enterprise resource planning software. Okay. Now, let's say Hindustan Unilever decides that we are running a very old technology, best of breed. We have put together a lot of different technologies, so that's not helping anymore. We will transition to SAP, which is the world's leading ERP, right? The entire supply chain, from sourcing of mal to inventory management to manufacturing, production shop, logistics, shipping, everything will be managed by one ERP solution, right? But there has to be an implementation strategy as well. A company like Accenture will come in and tell them this would be the implementation strategy. There will be phases. Let's first do a global, and let's say let's say if it is global Unilever, you are looking at multinational deployments, right? I was part of a transformation, $4.5 billion of transformation, SAP transformation. It was Cargill. I was young then. Cargill is the world's largest private player. They don't even care about public money. They're not listed. The seeds and agrofinance is what their business is. They're based out of Minneapolis. So $4.5 billion of just SAP implementation. There has to be some strategy. You cannot just start going and start implementing, right? But that's not strategy consulting. That is management consulting, consulting work. We say strategy work versus consulting. By definition, Ritom, when we say strategy, it's really the blueprinting. That's why you will see my projects are generally always between 6 weeks to 12 weeks. 12 weeks, beyond 12 weeks, we are not there. We do the blueprinting, we go. And then the people who are actually responsible for implementing it, they come. Typically, this is the wishful thinking of a large firm like Accenture, which basically does everything, is that we, the strategy people, will come in, right? We will do the blueprinting, that this is how your future state should look like. This is where you are, you suck here, ABC, D and E, you are kind of okay. You have to go here, right? A1, B1, C1, that's where you have to end. And you will, by the way, go through these phases. And by the way, this is the value you will be accruing. That's where we end. Then we hand it over to our systems integration partners. Accenture Kai, technology team will come, and then they will happily work with the designers and start configuration. That is consulting work. That's management consulting work. But ultimately, configuration is commoditized work. That's when they are actually doing coding. That's very commoditized work, right? So I'll give you one example. IIM, freshly hired IIM graduates, right? They charge, we charge to the client about, like anywhere between, $60 to $70 an hour, right? People with 15 years of experience in technology, they charge $11 to $15 an hour. Just to give you a difference between the type of work we do. So overall, commoditized configuration technology work is something that we don't touch. We do strategic work, which is blueprinting. This is how your target business should look like. This is going to be, currently you have a license-based model. This will be going forward, your subscription-based model. This is how you should lay out the processes. That's strategy for you. And then how you get it done, like the what part is the strategy, the how is the operationalization of the strategy, the consulting, management consulting work. And then when it comes to configuration, development, testing, that's different. That's IT work. Does that help, hopefully? Any other questions? Yeah, Ritam. You can come off mute and ask me, no problem. Okay, Ritam just put his hand down. Anyone else?
You can ask your question. Any questions? বাংলাতেও বলতে পারো. You can be comfortable in any language. কোনো অসুবিধা নেই.
Everything is.
Bengali, Hindi, कुछ भी चलेगा यार.
Hindi, yeah. It's very informal.
I have Argentina team members. I have Indian team members. We have lots of Bengalis. तू ही Bengali में बात करते हैं with the bongs and Hindi में बात करते हैं with the non-bongs. And no, I don't speak in Spanish, but in some form of English we speak with my Argentine team members. But yeah.
Well, like if you have any queries, you can send it in our email also, no problem, and you can get back to us at any moment.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we can call it a wrap.
Just to call it a day, thank you, Abro, for sparing your precious time and give such an insightful session. I believe everyone is quite encouraged with your speech. And the basic takeaway from this session, I believe, is like grade means very less in the professional life. It doesn't make you a finished product at the end of the day. And always do what you want to do, love it, and always keep on riding on a learning curve. That's the basic. That is the basic thing that is always required. Whatever your experience is, we always ride on a learning curve.
Absolutely.
We should not stop.
Learning is a continuous process.
Yes, it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, Arindam.
So,
Sorry.
yeah. No, I think I was asked this question by some of the current students. So, I mean, it's just my personal opinion as well. Don't rush to get some few thousand rupees and immediately join something, or even if you join, that's not the end of your life. Okay? So you might start in engineering, then you may move into management consulting, or you may move into IT. So just be open. And I think this notion of getting a job immediately is probably not a very good idea. So if you don't get a job, that's probably a good thing. Okay? Because sometimes winning too early, in long run, you are going to lose. So I think, which Abro also, I think he alluded to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I fully concur with Arindam. I mean, getting a job early is, I would say, rather bad in the long run.
But I mean, to be honest, sometimes people do have practical reasons, right? Some
Yeah.
families
No,
may
you have
need that kind of
practical
support.
reason, yeah. But sometimes it's a social pressure, right? Because you have
Sometimes it's
never got it, so you should get it. If you are not feeding your family right away, then it's okay to wait a few years, do something. I mean, get a study or whatever you want to do, right? So,
And we also need to come out of that thought process that loke ki bolbe. It doesn't matter loke ki bolbe, right?
So Devarko, Ritam has a good question.
Ritam,
As you have
yes,
fired
yes.
as you have fired lots of people, I totally painted my picture with like two horns as a devil today. But as you have fired a lot of people, what would be the ideal things a consulting should do? It's not really to not do this job. See, Ritam, it's not about doing anything ideal. It's about engagement. I always say this to my team. How is your engagement quotient with the practice, right? One thing I'll tell you in management consulting, there's a saying that we always repeat. Perception is reality, right? It's a great profession because your project changes over and over again, so you're not stuck with the same boss all the time. If you don't like that person, once this project is over, you can go to another one, right? But that also means you are as good as your last project, pretty much, right? So you have to be very visible, which probably something that we need to emphasize is networking and having relationships. This is something we don't emphasize when in our undergraduate days. Nobody will sell you their like you will never be able to sell something. Nobody will buy from you if you don't have a relationship with them. For that you need to know that person, your colleagues, your friends, your clients, your in-betweens, right? So networking, relationships, high engagement. You should be doing not just do you know what I have to do in my job profile? I deliver. I sell like 90% of the time I'm selling projects. 10% of the time I'm currently working on 4 projects, right? I have very long days, right? I train people. I deliver brown bag sessions all the time, right? I train people on topics, generative AI, analytics, etc. Whatever I feel like. I write thought leadership pieces. So it's a very busy, meaty role I have, and I love it. Had I not loved it, I would have sulked and I would have dropped off the curve. So nothing out of the ordinary or ideal you have to do. You just have to know your path. Is if you're working in a company, somebody is paying for you, you have to give your best shot. You have to be very, very customer centric, right? You have to know your client's needs. You have to always go the extra mile, give a full, like a holistic solution to everything, right? So that always helps. Like being the best at what you do always helps. You'd be surprised. One of my favorites, she was an undergraduate in economics from Lady Shri Ram College. No technology background. She became the resident expert in cloud technology, picked it up like this, right? Started delivering several cloud technology projects and got promoted every year. So on the one side, I have people who are fired because of just frustrating level of underperformance. In some cases, there are people who got promoted. She was not even an analyst. We started her off as an associate. Associate say analyst say consultant, and she would have made manager, but she left and joined Yale School of Management for MBA. I'm so proud of her. She's like my daughter almost, right? All I was saying. Okay. So brilliant people make good use of the opportunity. And I always say you have to be an athlete. I am an athlete. I was always called Avro as an athlete, which means you have the right fitness quotient to learn anything and go. You will always, that's my litmus. I always ask, can you get it done? I will always throw you at the deeper end of the pool. Yes, you don't know anything. I did not know smart networks. I did not know shared services finance, but I picked up that learnability quotient, high learnability quotient is what will keep you alive. If you don't have that, if you are 30 and you're like, aur kuch nahi seekhna hai, then you're gone, you're dead. The industry will chew you out because this industry, consulting, technology, it's so fast paced. Only yesterday we were jumping up and down with metaverse. Nobody talks about metaverse. I can guarantee you, in 2026, no one will talk about generative AI, and quantum computing is already knocking on the door. It evolves and innovates at a breakneck speed. and you have to continuously sell those to your clients, deliver projects at the top of your game. So unless you have a high learnability quotient, how will you do it? So having the right scientific bent of mind, which you are already developing in Jadavpur, that will help. But being dedicated and having that, that eagerness, I have to learn this. This can do attitude. If you got afraid, like, oh my God, $85 billion merger, I am part of the Avro's team, how will I deliver? Then you are gone. The answer is no, I'll be able to do it no matter what. I will figure it out no matter what. Remember this, I will figure it out no matter what. If you can chant that every day, that will get you far. That's what I do. I figure it out no matter what. And my favorite people, they are successful, they're growing with the firm. All my kids from KPMG are now directors at KPMG. Some have even made partners. Why? Because as a team, we clicked and we all shared the same value. High learnability quotient. Keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. There's not a moment to lose. Don't waste time. I have wasted a lot of time in my life. That's why I'm telling you, don't waste your time. Okay, Ritam, hopefully that helps. You can absolutely, nothing extraordinary. You just have to, as I said, right? Manage your optics, be engaged with the practice, do your job well, earn the confidence of your stakeholders. That stakeholder could be this person who is just gave you work for a day, that stakeholder could be a client. And initially, nobody is expecting you to sell. That's like partners like Arindam who have to always think of ki sell karna hai. And me, I have to sell sitting in Kolkata, in Jadavpur, I have to sell in North America. That's like a ridiculous proposition. But that's our headache. We have, unfortunately, we are way older than you. So right now it's your turf. Just learn, have fun. Whether it's a civil engineering job, whether it's a IT job, just learn. Try to understand the business. Try to understand how the business works. That would be important. Apart, so somebody who knows the technology, if you are a designer, but also has an eye or a good general understanding of the business, how money is made, because ultimately that's the most amog thing. You will succeed more. I can guarantee you that. Okay? You have my cell phone number. You have it's very easy. AVRO, Avro is how I am called. avro@chicagobooth.edu. You can email me. Email works best. I am always on calls during the weeks, so please don't call me because I will probably not be able to pick up. But Saturdays and Sundays are fair game. And you can call me Obro, ये server नहीं चलता है. Or Obro Kaku, whatever works. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Obro. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.